Hello and welcome back to my garden, or more specifically the greenhouse within my garden. It's still a little breezy and cool outside. I think today's high is supposed to get to about 45, but there's a bit of a breeze. Makes it a little chilly, hence the reason I'm wearing a hat. But here in the greenhouse, we are about 80 degrees right now. It'll probably cool off a bit more because I have that front door open there. Anyways, you did not tune into the channel for a weather report. You tuned in to probably see what I'm doing or what's going on here with my seeds. Every year around this time for the last few years, I've done some sort of what I've purchased, maybe where I purchased it from, and what my hopes and intentions are in growing whatever it is I want to grow for the year. And this year is probably no different other than the fact that we're outside in the greenhouse as opposed to in my kitchen, which I think where I've done it the last couple of years. The first thing I'm probably going to talk about today is my seed storage. I store my seeds in a couple of different ways, and you guys probably store your seeds in a completely different way than I do. And there's no right or necessarily wrong way. One of the most popular ways I've seen on YouTube, at least lately, is the plastic photo case. It's this big plastic photo box, and it's got smaller cassettes on the inside, and it was designed to store, I think, like 4x6 pictures. And that just so happens to be the approximate size of a packet of seeds. I think one gardener stumbled across it on Amazon, and then it sort of spread, and now I see it on a bunch of different channels. And they're good in some ways where they're compact, and you can keep all your various types of seeds organized in that manner. There's two things I don't like about it. One, it's a lot of plastic that it's eventually going to wind up in the trash, and it's eventually going to, it may last you 10 years, but eventually it'll wind up breaking or failing or something, and you'll toss it in the trash, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And the other thing is I can't put bulk items such as peanut seeds or corn. Corn's another bulky item. I can't put those into those cassettes because they're just not big enough. I could put a bunch of flower seeds into those cassettes, but not the bigger things. So a few years ago, as I started gardening, I probably started off with something like this, simple cardboard box. This one actually I still use to this day, and what I do with this one is as I finish sowing whatever it is I'm sowing, I just put it into the box that's labeled done. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of faded. What I may wind up doing this year, what I like to do is build myself a nice little wooden box, something that is a little more, will last me a few more years than this will. But it's just one of the things that I do is after I sow a seed, I wind up putting it in the done category, and I'll get more into that in a second. The next box that I probably got was this from Gardener Supply. And I think they still have this. They even have a larger one. It's just made out of, I think, like galvanized metal. And I have this one labeled as vegetables. And on the inside, you can see all my vegetables. Well, most of them. I don't have my bulky peanut seeds in here. And I think I had a little bit of corn left over from the last few years, but I'm going to give that away because I'm not going to do corn for another, I'm going to talk more about what I'm going to do with my corn in a minute. And then I think the next thing I got so far storing my seeds or organizing my seeds was this caddy. I think that's what we'll call it, caddy here. And it's got dividers on one side, and then it's got a big open space on the other side. And what I like to do with this, and I got this from Garrett Wade. By the way, none of this is sponsored by Gardeners, Garrett Wade, or any other brand name you hear. I wish it was, but none of this is sponsored. But this caddy helps me. What I do is I will put in my seeds that I plan on sowing for the year from front to back, from planting the soonest to the last group of seeds. And this way, as each progressive week shows up and I look at my calendar and I go, okay, I have to now plant out my 8 to 10 weeks, or I have to plant out my 4 to 6 weeks, that kind of thing. I just come in here, grab what I need to grab, sow what I need to sow. Last year for Christmas, I asked my sister to get me this thing, which is a huge bamboo box here from Gardener Supply. Again, not sponsored. I would not recommend you buying this unless they've fixed their quality control issues, but they had a lot of quality control issues with this initially. I happen to apparently get one of the few that did not have issues, but apparently there were a lot. If you go on the Gardener Supply site, if they're still selling this, you'll see a lot of the less than positive reviews. Well, like I said, I got a box which was in good condition, no quality issues. It has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different compartments here. And you know what I did recently was I turned around, I made a bunch of, well, let me backtrack here a bit. So the metal container, the metal box I just showed you a minute ago, came with cardboard dividers like this. And what I did was just take a P-Touch and I marked on this one, it says tomatoes. You probably barely see it, it's horrible, but it came with a divider like this. But they only give you like 5 or 6 of them. So I then turned around and made a bunch out of just file folder paper. So I had some old file folders laying around. I used this as a template and I did that. I don't know what I was thinking because this little tab and the little P-Touch, this is not a convenient, easy to use thing, at least for me. And maybe some of you have this where you deal with the Gardener Supply, because Gardener Supply is a popular vendor, and I know many of you probably shop there already. So what I did this year, and I ran across it on Etsy, because I was looking, is there a vertical divider? Because that's really what I needed, that has like the old school, here we go, that has like the old like file folder tab that I can then turn around and put a nice, again, I don't know if hopefully you guys can see this, a nice P-Touch label on. So what I did was for $6 I think I spent, I got an 8.5 by 11 sheet, I think it's like 25 pack on Amazon of craft paper here. And I just measured out what I wanted and I cut one out. In fact, let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. Cut one out, made it, set it up the way I wanted it to, called it master. And now when I want to make new dividers, I use this as a template, put it down on the sheet, trace around it, cut it out with a pair of scissors, Bob's your uncle. Right now I can get 4 of these on one sheet of 8.5 by 11, and I wind up with a little bit of waste on one side, but I think because they're sort of narrow strips, let's say 2 inches by 11, that I could use them for bookmarks. So I now have a bunch of free bookmarks. So I made a bunch of the dividers up because I had my flower seeds in one of those gardener's boxes, but I've been collecting so many different types of flower seeds because I want to grow so many different types of flowers that it was sort of outgrowing the box. Hence the reason for the bigger box here. And now I can I can keep it more organized. I've already gone into the 3rd bay here, and then maybe I'll wind up eventually going into the 4th bay. The 4th bay right here is right now just filled with seed envelopes, ready to go for me seed collecting in the future. And then this last bin is just some of the old tabs and then some new dividers, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this is my seed organization for this year. Nothing elaborate. The biggest thing for me this year was just sort of cleaning up and organizing what I had. And I went through my seeds before I purchased new seeds, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I had some empty envelopes. I had some old seeds that were like 3 to 4 years old. I have other seeds which I didn't want to necessarily grow again. And any seeds that I didn't want, I put into a box, and then I'm going to give them away to friends and family if they want them. But this is my seed organization for this year. This is not where it's normally going to stay. I keep all my seeds in the house where it's cool and dry. Well, there's one more thing here that I want to mention before we get into what I purchased and what I hope to grow this year. And that is talking about this caddy. And as I mentioned a second ago, I usually try to set them up going from front to back, from, first plantings, which will be, I'm going to start sowing next week until 2 weeks before the last frost. And then in the very back will be stuff that I'll probably plant out after the frost. What I did was I made up these tabs, and I got this idea from Etsy, since I was already making the dividers. And this way I can organize my seeds that much better. Last year what I did was I just took the seeds and I put them into this, marked it on my calendar, but then when I was going to pull the seeds to do the sowing, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was just, so I think the dividers here are just going to make life a little bit easier for me and a little easier for the organization. If you ran into this video because you're thinking about getting into gardening and you've never bought seeds before and you're wondering maybe where to buy seeds, if you go over to growinggreenfinger.com, resources, scroll to the bottom, I have various stores listed out. Burpees, Johnny Seeds, there's probably about a dozen different places. So you can go to your big box store, Lowe's, Home Depot. They'll probably have displays out now. You can go to your local garden center, or again, you can look online, and if you don't know where to look online, or if you're maybe looking for something specific, you can go check out the resources page on my website where I've listed like at least a dozen stores. If you're a regular viewer and you've looked at my resources page and you see a site that I'm maybe missing, an online site, please drop a link below, let me know, and I'll post it up there. Also, of course, Amazon. Amazon is, I don't think of Amazon as a place to go buy seeds, but there are various seed vendors who will sell through Amazon simply because Amazon's like the world's largest marketplace, right? So you'll have your own website, and then you'll have Amazon just to broaden your reach, as it were. I'm prattling. What did I purchase, and what am I going to try to plant this year? And I have most of my seeds in already. I started doing shopping the first 2 weeks of January here, and I probably could have or should have waited a little bit longer, but now's the time when a lot of YouTubers are starting to come out with their seed videos. What seeds do they buy? What do they hope on planting? That kind of thing. And the other thing is, some of these seeds are going to be required to, if I want to get them out after the last frost, for me here in Growing Zone 8B, that's going to be around April 1st. I need to start sowing them next week, or I think next week. So again, they'll germinate and have time to grow and then be ready to go out as soon as that last frost passes. I didn't buy a lot this year. This actually looks like a lot, and let me show you that stack right there. It looks like a lot. But compared to other years, I kept damage to a minimal. From Baker Creek, I got Sunflower Titan. I've never grown that before. So that's Sunflower Titan, never grown that before. My free seed from them was Danvers half-long carrots, which is interesting because I wound up buying, I think, a package from Burpee. So I have lots of carrot seeds, but that's okay. And then I also got giant rattle poppy. I do like poppy, but I have a 50-50 hit and miss with poppy. Some years it grows, some years it doesn't. So this year I'm going to give another attempt, and I have a lot of poppy seeds. I just bought this one variety from Baker Creek. And then also from Baker Creek, I got a variety of cherry tomato, which I've never grown before, but an acquaintance that I have recommended them highly, and that is spoon tomato. So hopefully that's in focus there, but spoon tomato. So this variety is from Baker Creek. From Burpee, I got the carrot sugar snacks hybrid. The other thing I got from Burpee is sweet corn on deck hybrid. This is a variety of corn which only grows to about 4 to 5 feet, I believe. Yeah, it's 4 to 5 feet. So it's a shorter variety of corn, and it's designed to grow in shallow containers. Let's say a half wine barrel. In fact, I've grown these in those like half wine or beer barrels, whiskey barrels, whatever you want to call them. I've grown them before, but this year I'm going to grow these in one of my raised beds, because my in-ground beds I have other plans for, which I'll talk about in the future video. So on deck hybrid corn. If you've ever grown this variety before, let me know in the comments below, but I'm going to grow them in one of the raised beds. And then I made a purchase from, it was a So True seed. From them, I only got 3 seed packets. They have a huge variety. All these businesses that I'm talking about have good size varieties, and there's companies that I purchased from in the past that I'm not purchasing from this year, simply because I have a lot of seeds, and I want to try to use up as many of those seeds as I have before going out and purchasing new ones, which is always, I think, a trap that a lot of gardeners wind up falling into. So if you're new to gardening, try not to fall into that trap, buying all the seeds from all the vendors, and then you don't plant out as much as you thought you would, and it's a trap we all fall into. So that's why, again, this year I would try and restrain myself from purchasing a lot of seeds. But from So True Seed, I got English single white daisies. I got Elka white breadseed poppy. Didn't see this variety on a lot of other websites, so, and sometimes if you're looking for a specific variety, that's where it's good to look at different vendors. So, because one vendor may not carry a seed that another vendor will. And then I got Chadwick cherry tomatoes. So I have two different types of cherry tomatoes. Plus I have other varieties of cherry tomatoes that I purchased last year that I didn't use when I plant out cherry tomatoes. I don't plant out 30 or 40. I plant out 2 to 3. So I have plenty left over from last year. And then probably the biggest batch was from Select Seeds. I like Select Seeds. If you've never heard of Select Seeds, go check them out. They carry a lot of heritage flowers, old flowers, varieties that you really won't find anywhere else. I mean, when I say heritage, I'm talking some of these varieties go back to the 1700s. And they've kept these breeds and these flowers alive, which is fabulous. See, I'm not going to go through this whole stack, but I will talk about some of the ones that are maybe interesting. This one's called Mars. I can't even pronounce that name, so maybe you guys can see that. There we go. I think the camera's focusing on that. So it's a nice looking variety of zinnia, so I'm going to try growing that. I'm going to try to grow a couple of different varieties of hollyhock. I don't think I've ever tried hollyhock before, and if I have, it was a very long time ago. So I'm going to give this year a try, give hollyhock a try. See what else. Oh, here's a variety of poppy called Amazing Gray. And again, let's see if I can get that to focus. There we go. So Amazing Gray, it looks pretty. I'm going to give it a whirl. Maybe it'll grow, maybe it won't grow. There's a variety here of Delphium, which, and I didn't know this. I've tried growing Delphium for a number of years, but what I didn't know was that most Delphiums only grow up to or down to up to growing zone 7. And I'm in growing zone 8B. So that's probably why a lot of my Delphiums have never thrived or grown all that much, if they've even grown at all.
Idiot!
So this year I'm going to try a variety called Requiem. I can't pronounce this. I think that's focusing. I think that's there. So there you go. So that's the name. And allegedly this variety is supposed to be good to growing zone 9. So we're going to see. Hopefully this will grow well for me as well. Because one of the things I want to try to do this year is get some more height to the garden. In my flower garden, a lot of the plants are, tallest plant is maybe 3 foot tall, and I want some taller plants. I want some plants which are really going to bring some height and wow to the flower garden. It's one of my goals this year. Now I love my dahlias, and normally I would buy tubers from all sorts of different vendors. This year I'm not doing it. I'm giving my dahlia beds a whole overhaul. We'll talk more about that. I talked about it a bunch last year. We'll talk more about that in a future video. But one of the things I did buy was a dahlia seed mix called Watercolor. And let's see if we can get that to focus. So there you go. So if they do grow, and if they grow healthy and well and all, what I'll probably wind up doing is putting them scattered throughout the front bed gardens and also the flower garden. Not something that I will dig up. I will leave it in the ground, and if they survive over the winter next year and they come back the following spring, great. If they don't, oh well, I'll treat it sort of as an annual. But if it does grow, let's see what else. Here's another hollyhock, Indian Spring. Not sure that's focusing, but hopefully you can see those colors. That looks really nice. Big Blue Salvia. I did plant this out last year late, and I have a couple of plants, and I took some cuttings. I'm not sure if the cuttings are actually going to survive over the winter, but I really do like the variety of Salvia, so I got myself another seed packet. A tall Coreopsis. There's no picture on here, so I'm not going to show you guys, but this one is called just tall Coreopsis. But it's supposed to get up to 8 feet high. So I'm not sure where I'm going to grow it yet, but I'm going to try to grow this, and if the seedlings do take, then I will have to find a home for it someplace in the flower garden. Nasturtium. I can't pronounce this word. Nasturtium. I've never grown these before at all. So I got myself Baby Yellow, and I think I have another one in here called Moonlight. Those are two varieties of, again, I've never grown these before. Gonna give them a whirl. Not sure what I'm gonna do with them yet, whether are we planting them out in the, I think the deer might eat them. I'm not even sure if they're deer proof. If they're not deer proof, maybe they'll just stay here in the flower garden. Maybe I'll put them in pots up on the back deck or something. Not sure yet, but it's a plant I've never grown before, so I'm going to try to giving it a whirl. I think that's about it. A lot of the other stuff is stuff I've grown before: columbine, sea holly. So there's some echinacea here, and there's a few more poppies. So nothing super dramatic or over the top. I do have a gomphrena coming in from somebody, or I already received it. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But I think I ordered a gomphrena from somebody. And there's another variety of plant I ordered from another vendor. I haven't received the seeds yet because I just ordered it, I think, yesterday or the day before. The company is Swallowtail Garden. I don't know if you guys have ever ordered from Swallowtail before. Let me know if you have. And I got geranium. I've never grown geraniums from seed. I've never bought a geranium plant. Something I've never done, something I think my wife has done, but I've never grown that at all, period. So this is one of the plants I'm looking forward to. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. Not sure if it'll go into a pot or it'll go into the garden someplace, or I haven't figured that out yet. But I have the seeds coming. I'm going to try to grow geraniums this year from seed. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll grow, maybe they won't grow. Those are a lot of the seeds. So like I said, it's not a lot of seeds, and I still have a lot of seeds here in my box. As I mentioned before, I have various other daisies, and I have snapdragons and rudbeckias, and I have yet more poppies in here and marigolds. So I still have a lot of seeds here in the box. And I have quite a few vegetables left over from previous years here in my smaller metal box here. So this year, really nothing super big and exciting other than I'm going to be trying to grow corn in a raised bed and grow a few varieties of flowers that I've never grown before. I also have leftover seed potatoes from last year. I talked about that in previous videos, so I'm not going to get into that. And I have ordered a few more seed potatoes, but not a lot, because again, I already have leftovers from last year that I'll be planting out in the springtime. So I didn't get a lot of potatoes either. Stuck to the basics. I think I'm getting russets, German butterball, and Yukon Gold, maybe. Those are very common potatoes that you can even find in these supermarkets. But like I said, there's 100 different types of varieties out there. So if you're growing a weird, different type of variety of potato, again, please leave those comments below. I want to know what you guys are thinking. This is what I've got going on with my seeds. I think the next video, I'm not sure what the next video is going to be, because the weather is going to be very... If the forecast holds true, we're going to get very erratic over the next few days. We're looking at rain over the weekend, and then possibly snow next week. And not just a dusting, but I'm hearing possibly up to 6 inches of snow, which for eastern North Carolina is the apocalypse. I know some of you may be buried under snow right now with feet of snow, but for eastern North Carolina, 6 inches of snow is just the apocalypse. So I don't know what the next video will be. I have a couple of ideas in mind, and I think some of you may like that. We'll see. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, and this way you can see what the next video will be. And again, don't forget to leave me comments on seed storage, seeds that you're buying. Let me know. Guys, I'm curious as to, do you just keep your seeds in a shoebox? Do you have something fancy like this? Do you have an old card catalog? Do you use that plastic photo cassette thing like a lot of YouTubers use? Again, please let me know in those comments below. I'm very interested to hear what you guys do. So I think with all that being said, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.